India produces 35 to 45,000 PhD scholars every year. It's not even 1% of our population.
You know, while you're pursuing your PhD, nobody tells you that the hardest part of PhD is not research,
Okay.
but it is what follows after you submit the PhD thesis.
Okay.
As soon as I submitted my PhD thesis and I started applying to organizations, I received three types of responses.
Okay.
First one being you are overqualified for the position.
Oh my god.
Second one was you are inexperienced for the position. And the third one was no response at all. When I'm talking about bioavailability, for me it is how much is available and for how long it is available. So when I talk about how long it is available, I know that I can make a statement of 1 a day dosage.
Right.
That is when Nutriventure comes in.
Welcome back again to the Changemakers with Madhuri. I'm Madhuri, your host, voice of nutraceuticals. India produces 35 to 45,000 PhD scholars every year. That's a huge number globally coming from one country. Do you know that it's not even 1% of our population? Just 35,000 or 45,000 or 50,000 maximum in a year. Why does it matter to ask? Because innovation is lagging in health industry, nutraceutical industry or pharmaceutical industry. And when we wanted to seek the answers, why science is taking time, why innovations are taking time, why innovations are not happening, we started asking question basically that every year you have like number of publications and research articles and patents being filed by doctorates. Where are they disappearing? Where are the scholars? Fortunately, I have a friend who is PhD or who is doctorate in biotechnology. I started asking her the same questions. I was fortunate enough to get some of the answers from her. I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to share the same thing with you. And that's why we have brought her here today. Dr. Sneha Sawant.
Desai.
Desai. Welcome to Changemakers with Madhuri. Before we start, talking about these gaps and industry in the innovation and the doctors, I would like to introduce her first. She has contributed over 20 peer-reviewed international publications in reputed journals, including Frontiers in Immunology, Chemical Engineering Journal, and Trends in Food and Science Technology. In addition to her research publications, she has authored 4 book chapters in volume published by esteemed publishing houses such as CRC Press, Intech Open, and Wiley Research, reflecting her continued engagement with advancing scientific scholarship and maintaining research excellence. Let's hear it out from a passionate educator, mentor, Dr. Desai, Dr. Sneha Desai. And let's hear about her journey, how she got connected to the industry, nutraceutical industry, and how did industry received her. Hi, Sneha.
Thank you, Madhuri. Thank you for creating a space for such conversations because I think it's time that people understand that there is an issue. So, as far as my PhD journey is concerned, PhD was not something that I had pre-planned for years.
Mm-hmm.
It happened. So, while I was doing my MSc dissertation project, so when we do our masters, we have a 6-month dissertation projects that we are supposed to do. Now, for that dissertation projects, my departmental head, who is also my PhD guide and a life mentor right now, Dr. Varsha Kilkar Mane, she proposed that we come up with our own problem statement.
Okay.
So it's not that she is going to give us a problem statement and we have to work on it. You people go back, read, understand that there is a problem and come up with how do you tackle that problem.
Okay.
So it is that step wherein the foundation for research was laid for me.
Okay.
And while doing my dissertation project, the spark for research, the passion for research was ignited. So that project immediately then culminated into a PhD project. So I immediately took up that opportunity. I joined in, and that is how PhD happened. But that didn't happen overnight. It was 6 years of hard work.
6 years?
6 years, because I joined as a junior research fellow in 2012. I joined as a JRF, and my project...
Oh, you appeared for the NET JRF, right?
I appeared for the NET JRF, but by that time, my JRF was cleared, basically. My PhD work was already done.
Okay.
So, I started as a JRF. It didn't require any there was no requirement for a NET GRF qualification or a DBT GRF
Okay.
qualification. It was a funded project by the University Grants Commission. So that is how it happened. But because we were trying something for the first time,
Right.
we were trying to work on microalgae, which
Microalgae.
which
Okay.
is, I mean, I can't compare them to bacteria and fungi.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at their generation time, it takes a lot of commitment to work on a microalgae. And because I was the first from the department, we needed to start from scratch.
Okay.
My work started in 2012. I submitted my thesis in April 2018.
6 years
It
in
took-
lab.
It took me 1.5 years just to come up with a clean microalgae strain with no bacterial contamination, no algal contamination. So it was after 1.5 years when we achieved that one strain that we started focusing on its application. And its application included nutraceutical, cosmeceuticals, as well as pharma. So we tried to touch base upon how can we connect this wonderful creature that we have on our hand
Mhm.
to these industries. And that is how we started. We submitted in 2018, but my degree came in 2019. So that was 7 years in total till I had that degree in hand.
Okay. Oh my god.
And it's
I think India is the only country that takes so much of time, or
no, it's not. I don't think so. It is related to the country because I understand that there are different universities. PA people actually, I think come out as early as 2 years or 3 years as well.
Okay.
Right. So basically, even if I started in 2012, I registered as a PhD student in 2015.
Mhm.
So once you register as a PhD student, for us, the process is that in the next 22 months, you have to submit the synopsis. So ideally, it is only 2 to 3 months after you register yourself as a PhD student. But in order to submit a synopsis, you need to do some background work, and that
Okay.
takes time.
Okay.
If somebody has not worked on it before, if somebody has done a part of it, then it's 2-3 years and you're
Right.
done.
Right. So
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 it's-
6 years. You were working on one concept, right?
Yeah.
One concept you were working on to prove one thing. And you know, guys, every doctorate, every PhD scholars, day in and day out, they are spending years behind bringing one concept for multiple industries. And so look at their dedication. They're all doing it to bring one kind of impact to, let's say, health. It can be pollution, it can be, the problems we are facing nowadays with respect to many things. But do you think that every breakthrough you work on, every discovery you kind of trying to study at your in your lab for years, do they all come to industry, or they're just kept back in the books and your thesis? Are they just do they come out?
So most of the research stays in the lab.
Okay.
Most of the research stays in the lab primarily because, so I'll give you an example. There are government affiliated universities and there are private universities.
Okay.
Now the PhD fees differ for a government university and for a private university. For people who don't have that financial backing,
Mm-hmm.
but who are passionate about doing a PhD, they go ahead with a government affiliated university. You will see that the industry connection there
Mm-hmm.
is still not that strong.
Mm.
Private universities, you will see that there are people in industries who are regularly have a meetup with the researchers trying to understand which project. Industries do invest in private universities. I don't say that they don't. I know of one university which is very well connected to industry professionals. So they basically do. But when we talk about government affiliated universities, I have seen that most of the research stays in the lab. Primarily because you don't have that financial backing. Who is going to do it?
Right. So I think we are cracking down it slowly. We say that Indian talent, Indian scientists are literally all over the world, and they are bringing they're just transforming everything. But India not becoming that innovation powerhouse is a big question. How? And I think this is one of the reason what you just told, that most of the innovations or the discoveries or the breakthroughs or the publications and patents or years of hard work you do behind one proving one concept or one discovery, it stays in lab, only in the lab. So we found out one reason.
Yeah.
let's start digging more. So after your PhD, how did you feel like when you got the certificate and everything in your hand?
So, while you're pursuing your PhD, nobody tells you that the hardest part of PhD is not research,
Okay.
but it is what follows after you submit the PhD thesis.
Okay.
When you're, so I'll tell about myself, I'll speak for myself. So, when I was doing my PhD research, I was of opinion that if you are a bachelor, and if you are doing your BSc, and if you want to now step into the industry, you join in at a certain hierarchy. When you're a master's, you join in at a certain hierarchy,
Right,
and when you're a PhD, you join in at a certain hierarchy. So this is what I thought of.
Right.
But as soon as I submitted my PhD thesis and I started applying to organizations, I received 3 types of responses.
Okay.
First one being, you are overqualified for the position.
Oh my God.
Second one was, you are inexperienced for the position. And the third one was, no response at all. Okay. So it's like, what is the cost of spending 6 years in a research lab, doing rigorous science, polishing your skill set, only to be told by somebody that you have the expertise, but you lack the experience?
Oh my God.
So it's basically you're telling the researchers that your research matters as long as you belong to the university. When you want to transition to the industry, we don't care about it. It's indirectly making that statement, even if nobody tells you that to the face. So when I moved out, I had the publications, I attended conferences, national, international conferences, did receive awards. But when we go out, we are showing this profile. So the doors shut. And then you realize that was it, you actually start regretting the fact that you spent those years, you were working on something that's a hard-earned degree. When somebody starts working on a project, when somebody starts an experiment in the lab, the first experiment never always succeeds. People face failures.
Right.
Your experiments fail. And you have to turn up every day to the lab to understand, why did this fail yesterday?
Right.
So if it failed yesterday, then today I will adjust one parameter and I will rerun the same experiment.
Right.
I will again fail. So it's like, research is teaching you to find answers. Why is this happening? How do you improve it? So we are trying to polish all of these skills while we are doing our PhD. And then once we are done with it, somebody is telling us that you are inexperienced. So is it that you are telling us that the more early you come to the industry will be open to you? Is it?
Yeah, I think that's something made me feel bad. I mean, I didn't notice all these things, like a doctorate goes through this. I mean, I would say kind of ignorant people are nowadays in industry or this. But they should not forget that every breakthrough that comes from lab, that's what is running the industry.
And
Maybe
I will add to that. So most of the research that we do, it's not that industry irrelevant research. It is related to that industry.
you work on the problems.
Yeah. And then suddenly when you get a pushback, then you go back 6 years back and then you start comparing yourself to your colleagues and you see that they are doing well only because they came out early. So somebody who has done just their masters and they came out in the industry, as soon as they completed their masters, they are doing well. So what are you trying to tell the PhDs? That is the reason I believe that the number of PhD graduates coming out from the country. I don't know how much it was a decade ago. I don't know how exactly it is right now. But that is going to decrease the number of PhDs for sure,
There's
because
no encouragement.
people talk, right? So people reach out to me from the university to understand how easy was it.
And surprisingly, innovation is, innovation is something is in a huge demand, but they don't want PhD scholars for it.
No, so I'll tell you, innovation is happening,
Okay.
right? It's not that innovation is not happening, but the innovation is happening to not. So the question is not the right question that is asked.
Mm-hmm.
Innovations are there, products are created, you people come up with new ingredients, but is that an answer to the right question?
You're just trying to fit that one innovation somewhere,
Yeah.
or maybe you're creating a category for that one ingredient. I would say it's like, I made this, now let me build market for it. Well, that is something we are going ulta. I think first we should find out the problem and then solution. No, here they're finding out something. Okay, I found this, now I need to sell this, so I need to build a category. I think that is the approach what every key player is now has started taking. This is a big sentence, I know.
Yeah.
That's controversial.
maybe
That-
but so academia teaches you to ask the right question, and it also trains you to find the answer to that right question,
Right.
but it takes time, it takes
Right.
patience. Obviously, when we do that research in a lab, we know how patient we have to be, because we already have a problem statement, we already have a hypothesis that is set for our thesis. And just because my experiments are failing, it doesn't mean that I'm going to go back and change my problem statement and give a reason that this didn't work out. No.
Yeah, you can't.
Results are results. Positive results, negative results, both are results. So I have to go back, work out, and come up with the right answer. But what industry expects is that we come up with the right answer the moment we want to be a part of the industry.
Right. So let me just now, in this room, can we try to correct something? I have a small proposal. Let's go back to some decade ago. What if the institution where you were pursuing your PhD, or the college, or the whatever, university, what if they have collaborated with one of the industrial, association, where 3 years you would have worked on your research and another 3 years you would have worked on industrial applications? Wouldn't that have given a right solution and right exposure? And obviously, it would have given you much more, I would say, credibility and opportunities to grow in your career. I think those 6 years will never come back. But at least those 3 years you would have try to make it more, better.
That's true, Madhuri, because I will not say completely that, I would not say that you give me exactly 3 more years in the industry. But even when an industry is there as a partner with a university, you are already aware that you are working for something that is going to go into a commercial level. Now, when we do something, when we achieve something in a lab, we do it from the point of view of, we understand that this is a genuine problem right now in the market. So we do it. But then because the industry application doesn't come in, we have funding agencies, right? Government does fund a lot of research. But then what happens after the research is completed?
Right.
So even while I was doing my PhD, I remember writing to multiple agencies, because once you realize that after you submit your thesis, what is going to happen after that? You immediately start writing projects for your postdoctoral fellowship.
Right.
Nothing went through. Because it's not just me who is doing it, right? There are thousands out there who are busy securing that future by submitting a number of proposals to the government. But what if one industry decides to collaborate with a nearby university and tells them that we want to have a collaboration with you? One PhD student works on this project, and it will be a partnership. So it's like you develop it here and we taste it here for the commercial side of it.
Right.
When that happens, even the student is assured that we have something. Right. So, but that I don't see that is happening. I have not seen that is happening. Even after my PhD was completed, then I think I joined as a research fellow at an institute. It was a government-run institute. I had to take that up to be to be upfront and to be honest. I had to take it up because I realized that industry is telling me that I'm overqualified or I'm inexperienced. So I had to take it up. I being a PhD, I can't just sit at home and do nothing. Why? While I submitted my thesis, I was already a senior research fellow. And then I had to start applying for positions that are junior research fellow positions and senior research
Oh
fellow
my
positions.
God.
Why? Because somebody tells me that until and unless you get that degree, you are still considered a master's. So if that is the case, that before I get my degree, I'm still a master's, what happens to my 6 years? I can't just sit at home.
True.
So 3 years after my PhD, 3 years I spent at a research institute. First as an SRF, and as my degree came in, I was promoted to a research associate. But again, that was a contractual position. And for women, this is a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Because women are always associated with the biological clock.
True.
I had my daughter, I had to put down my papers.
Oh my God.
And then again, I was in the same situation. Now what? When I submitted my thesis, I started applying, I saw what was happening. Now, after 3 years of working at a research institute, even being a COVID warrior, and then I have to sit at home, now what will come my way? Primarily because, so I'll also tell you, while I was pregnant, I did have a call with somebody. He was the director of a diagnostic laboratory. And my HR round was clear. And when I connected with him, everything was done, the selection was done, the confirmation came in. It was a verbal confirmation. But then because we have to honestly put forward the facts, I told them that this is what the situation is. And the next thing that happens, it was a lady in front of me. The next thing that happens, that the phone gets that she tells me that, oh, I'm so sorry, then this is not meant for you. And she disconnects the call on your face. So it's already that you are late for the industry. Now that you are in this phase,
what was that word? First,
overqualified.
Overqualified.
Then you are inexperienced.
Wow.
Then when you build up that experience for something, you are told that because you are in the process of creating something yourself at a personal level, you are told that this doesn't belong to you. But then, fortunately, somebody just walks in, and this happened over a LinkedIn connection.
Okay.
Somebody just reached out to me that they are not looking at the experience as far as industry is concerned, but they are looking at the expertise that I
Are
have.
you talking about the company we know?
Yes. And the moment he reached out, I'm telling him that I don't have any experience as far as licensing is concerned, and I don't understand licensing. Because what used to happen is when I used to reach out to people, people are telling me that you're
Can
inexperienced.
you explain about the licensing to our viewers? Like, what is licensing in our industry? What do we do? Like, whenever we import, it's needed for importing, right? Licensing and all.
It is needed. So basically so I am talking about it from this organization point of view, who were working on in licensing of ingredients which are globally launched, which are clinically validated, and which are patented. So we used to evaluate these ingredients from all the standpoints. Patent hai, clinical studies hai, how significant is the clinical data, how many are the launches, what are the formats, in what combinations are these products launched. And then we used to connect with them. Our purpose was to in-license these globally validated or globally launched ingredients for the India market. Because at that point of time, when I joined that organization, I remember in that 1 year I was a part of that organization, we evaluated 400 plus ingredients.
And that too, all were innovations, right? If I'm
Those
not
were
wrong.
all innovations, and those included. So I'll come to the innovation
It's
part
not
of
easy
it.
work, I would say. Evaluating or reviewing or validating 400 ingredients. I mean, I wouldn't do even 10 at the moment. Because, I mean, you need to be in a different space for that. I don't say that a founder even can do that. Even a manager or a business head would do that. Or even a marketing or salesperson. would do that. Even R&D head wouldn't do that. I think it's a person who has that rigorous patience, built in
That
from
is
his
where
lab.
PhDs come into picture, because when we talk about validating these ingredients, we had to go through each and every clinical study, each and every science that was behind the particular ingredient, and understand and come up with the data analysis from the literature that is available. Obviously, we are not conducting new research on existing ingredients. It is just that we used to go back and look at whatever science is available for that ingredient, how strong the science is, how significant the results are.
Wow.
Half the work was already done by the guy who was already working there, and the
Right.
other half was done by a team of 4, which included myself as
You.
well. So this
Okay.
is how we evaluated those ingredients.
Before taking them inside India market,
Yes,
you
so
did
it's
this.
like we didn't. We used to reach out only to those innovators
Mhm.
with good science, with good number of patents, and those ingredients which are already launched. So those which are yet to be launched were some ingredients we didn't explore, because obviously
Mhm.
it takes time to launch
Right.
any ingredient.
Mhm.
Right.
So how did it go?
It was
But I would say after a long time, someone received you very well in the industry, and you got, you got to utilize your expertise.
so that is where I am that is one point that I would like to highlight, that organization or that person actually wanted to look at my expertise and not my experience in the industry.
Oh wow, that's rare.
Okay. And when that happens, you understand that's something big for me, because I had already seen so many rejections. But because that happened after so many rejections, it was hard for me to believe that this person is actually looking at my expertise. Because my PhD was on
Right.
microalgae.
Someone is hiring overqualified person.
So my PhD was already on microalgae. I already had that nutraceutical, I won't say experience or expertise, but I understood
the science
the
behind
ingredient,
nutraceuticals.
right? So, and that is where the industry was shaping up thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic that happened. Because
Yes,
being
all are.
so even during the COVID-19 pandemic, when I was on ground, when I was
Oh.
so I was associated with one of the government hospitals and one of the institutes at that point of time, when it was the COVID pandemic that was ongoing. So I could see that what were people using? People were using vitamin C supplements.
Yeah, true. Vitamin C,
And
zinc.
every household, the lady of the household used to prepare a kada.
Kada, yeah.
What was that kada? That lady doesn't understand the science,
Yeah,
but she knows that this helps.
true.
How it helps?
No one knows.
But that's the आजीबाईचे नुस्खे म्हणतात ना.
दादी के नुस्खे.
दादी के नुस्खे.
Right.
Turmeric, black pepper, clove,
Ginger.
ginger, garlic sometimes, dalchini.
Right.
You are creating a concoction using whatever is available in the kitchen.
Right.
Somebody is developing innovations using the exact same ingredients. Your concoction is nothing but an extract. You dry that extract, you come up with nutraceuticals.
So it's like you want to validate these olden, methods and the ingredients, but you don't want a PhD scholar to validate it. You want to hire someone who doesn't know anything about it, and you call them like over educated or this. That's
No, I
weird.
won't say that they don't know anything about it, but maybe what matters is the critical thinking and analysis of what is in front of you.
True.
We are taught not to accept things as it is and to question everything and anything that is put in front of you.
Yeah. But, if we can, I think we are moving from, again, your PhD, scholars and the innovations, then, the time you spend, while validating one thing. And, but I believe the scenario might be changing now, because even I deal with a lot of companies nowadays. they do ask me about that. They are very much interested in academic, research collaborations. So even I've heard this from mid-size companies and even large-scale companies also, not the small scale yet. But the mid-size companies are showing interest in collaborating with academias or the, obviously research institutes where obviously they want to accelerate their innovation pipeline with the help because half of the work you guys have already done in the lab. So I would see the scenario is changing, and I hope that's true.
And
that
if it
changes
is, I
more
would be
better.
actually very glad because so when people reach out to even the masters, not only talking about the PhDs here, but even when people reach out to masters, many a times because so these are two different worlds that exist parallelly, and none of them are speaking to each other, right? So when a master's or a PhD student comes out, if there is no industry hand holding that is happening, people are not even aware what are the different functions of an organization. What are the different verticals? What does a supply chain do? What does a BD does? What does a sales team do? What is marketing? What comes in marketing? Most of the research scholars are aware of R&D, quality control. So you will find most of them trying to apply for these positions.
Yeah.
They sometimes get in as well. If they start early, they do get in. But sometimes it's once they get in, they realize that this is not what I would want to do. So they would try to move to a different function. So if these people are educated right when they are a part of the university, that helps them to find their right fit. Where do they actually belong?
True. Right. True. Even I took, I think I would say, even I spent 6 years of first, industrial experience in lab, quality, handling quality and all. But when I was exposed to international business, marketing and sales job roles, there I found out that, I'm a scientist inside, but there is something else that is trying to explode and, trying to get exposed to the, the world, the space. And I continued, but it took 6 to 7 years. Within industry also, it took time for me to find out the fit. So obviously, I think today's generation is smarter. They wouldn't take so much of time. If you give them right exposure, within a time frame when they're studying during their academy, I think it will be easy for them to find out whether they're fine with this position or that. I think it saves a lot of time, and that will fasten up the pace of innovation and launches and everywhere, I would say.
That's true.
Yeah.
Even at the university, I actually believe that so whenever you are planning a syllabus for a particular year, be it for masters, especially for masters, or even for the graduates, the BScs, when you're planning to incorporate new changes in the syllabus, it is important to have an industry person on the panel to give you a glimpse of what exactly works in the industry.
Right.
Because most of the things that you learn, and when you are out in the practical world, you see that there is no connection between what we learn and what is happening here. So in order to connect the dots, it is also important for the universities to have one industry person on the panel to decide for the syllabus.
Sometimes I feel industry is behind. All the innovations are lying on the shelf. It's been discovered long back. Dude, you're not using it. I feel sometimes industry is behind.
And imagine that there are, when we were evaluating those 400 plus ingredients, and when we used to look at the science, some of the science was not even up to the mark. I don't even know why it was there, but just because somebody wanted to prove
it didn't sound innovative to you.
So the ingredient is made. Okay. So the ingredient is there, but the science was not that significant enough
to prove that,
right? And how do you understand that? You look at the impact factor of the journal. You look at how significant the results are in comparison to the placebo. There were a few ingredients. If I say that the test is showing me 50% improvement, the placebo is also showing me 30%.
We're talking about clinical
clinical trials.
Trials now.
Yeah,
okay.
because we were only talking we were only evaluating a product from the number of clinical trials that are available.
Okay.
Because that is what primarily is important to understand the efficacy of an ingredient. Obviously, in vitro, in vivo studies that people conduct is important to understand the mechanism behind every ingredient. But when we talk about the clinical trials, we used to come across studies that are published in journals with impact factor less than 1,
Mm-hmm.
not so statistically significant results, but then those ingredients are already ready for launch.
So I think there is something needed to be simplified for people who are taking innovations ahead. You are the one who validate it whether it is right or not, and you should be the one who should approve it to take it further, I would say. But somewhere you need to simplify for that for others as well. So there's a lot to talk about clinical trials, because a commoner will know that, like, for them, even if it is a clinically backed, that word is enough. But within clinical trials also, what are the parameters where we say no, this is the right way to validate that the clinical validation is perfect. So there is a need of simplifying those few critical parameters that when a marketing or person who approves, they should tick those 5 checks and like we are good to go ahead. I don't think so. There are so many companies who even check and in detail, to the depth, especially in nutraceuticals, I would say, not talking about pharma here. So the company you were working on, they have done an amazing job when you're saying that it was getting checked so thoroughly. So when more and more people do this kind of work, then the traction, the momentum happens, comes, and that's how people give importance to science, whether it is a lab science, whether it is a clinical science, everything. But that's what you should be giving the simplified version of anything, because the clinical versions, clinical studies are like huge. I mean, I would not even open it. I would go to the summary last page and I'm like, okay. Or I would rather give it to Sneha simplified for us. I think that's the job, and that's something you're at the you're bridging that gap between simplifying this for a marketing department who can take it further and put it on their claims and all. I think now you're working with another institute, like it's new. How was the journey after that? I think that kind of lift you up, the first job, and
it did because that actually made me realize that whatever I had learned and whatever is happening in the industry,
that's not sufficient.
It is connected.
Okay, it is connected.
It is connected. So it's basically you know about the ingredients,
right,
about the science behind an antioxidant. You are aware about the science behind the polysaccharides, the fatty acids, and you see the application part. So when I joined the first organization, I could see that there is a connection there, and that actually it lifted me up, to be very frank.
So you got the confidence that whatever time,
because somebody had told me that I don't belong here. No, somebody had told me that you have the expertise, but you are inexperienced. So that had already put my morale down.
Somebody has told you that the knowledge you carry, we don't need it. I mean, that was a big statement.
No, it's not that we don't need it, but it's like we don't care about this. We care about this, and then it happened with me. I actually started comparing my journey with my colleagues from the masters, and I'm like, कि अरे masters करने के बाद ये होता है और PhD करने के बाद ये होता है. And that actually made me question that what was I doing. But then there was this guy who actually cared about my expertise, and he told me that you fit here.
Wow.
So that first exposure I had made me realize that yes, I belong to the industry. There was a second switch that happened, but it was more or less a similar kind of a profile. Right now, so I'll talk about the problems that exist when you talk about clinical trials, because that was the last point we were discussing, clinical trials. Now there is a gap in clinical trials as well.
Right.
People were not concerned about women representation as far as clinical trials is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you look back at the science, you do see that people are involving women in clinical trials
Oh,
as
wait,
well.
this is something new
Okay.
now.
You can go back and have a look at the literature. You can have a look at the male to female ratio then,
it?
and now you look at the male to female ratio in the clinical trials.
Those studies wouldn't give the right interpretation, I would say.
It will, but then
For
nobody
women.
questioned it then, no?
Oh, yeah.
So that was one of that is one of the gaps that I think people are now started addressing. I don't know what is the ratio right now when people talk about male to female as far as clinical trials currently these days are concerned. That was one. Now my transition from the first exposure to where I am right now happened primarily because I knew कि innovations are happening. Innovations हो रहे हैं.
right.
But what is happening to the earlier ingredients?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you come up with a new extract, what happens to the earlier ingredient? You see a lot of ingredients in the market. दिख रहे, science है. But जो पहले वाले ingredients हैं, उनके साथ क्या हो रहा है? Are people trying to understand it?
Right.
In the Nutra industry, people make claims,
Mm-hmm.
bold claims. I don't know how much of clinical substantiation people have. I don't know about it. Because obviously मैं सारे सबके products नहीं देख रही हूँ. There are a few products that I will look at. For a consumer, what is important is the benefit, the end benefit.
Right.
So consumer will pick up a product basis the health benefit claim that a manufacturer is making.
Right.
They pick up the product.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we should understand that in a country like ours, wherein most of the people are focused on pharma, drugs,
Mm-hmm.
the people are more into taking medicines and they expect quick results,
Yeah.
which your Nutra will not give.
Right.
Right? So somebody who has say an inflammation, somebody who is going through pain, they would want to take a painkiller and quickly fix that pain.
Because pharma was built on symptoms.
Yeah. But that mindset still exists.
Still exist.
So a consumer will not give a brand 90 days, 60 days. They will not. Until and unless that is prescribed by their doctor and their doctor tells you that you take this supplement for 2 months.
These many days.
Yes.
Something.
So even if they would feel themselves that I'm not experiencing any effect, but because doctor ne bola hai, so I will take it for 2 months. I will take it for 3 months. But at the same time, when we talk about the OTC, when a consumer goes and picks up an ingredient, he looks at the benefit and he decides that I will start taking this. Now the pack is a 30-day pack. He will mentally start assessing that am I getting these benefits?
Yeah.
Am I experiencing these benefits?
Right.
If he doesn't experience that benefit, he is not going to
He's
come
not
back.
going to believe. in
He
the
won't.
product. Right.
The health benefit was associated with one brand, with one ingredient.
Right.
ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 2 चीजें होती हैं. One, the consumer loses the trust in the brand.
True.
So they will still believe that the ingredient works. इसका नहीं हो रहा है. So they move to a different brand.
Correct.
But even after moving to a different brand, if the consumers don't experience effect, it's still a bigger problem because the consumer stops believing the ingredient altogether.
Yeah.
कि मैंने 2 brands का लिया और दोनों brands का मुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ा. So the ingredient itself is not giving results.
True.
So that is a major problem. Now for this, people started associating it with the availability. कि अवेलेबल नहीं है इसलिए नहीं दे पा रहे हैं, इसलिए शायद से you're not consumers are not experiencing benefits, right? So people started working on addressing the availability problem. Now when they started working on it, we see that people started making big claims. X times available, Y times available. So the consumer now decides that the
Based on
people have made some changes.
Yeah.
People told me that I am not experiencing the effects because ingredient available नहीं था, bioavailable नहीं था. So now they have fixed the problem. Now the ingredient is bioavailable. Now I can go back and pick up the ingredient. He goes back, but still doesn't experience
Your perception
it.
is something. which pharma has built.
And they still don't experience it.
Yeah.
Usme se there would be a few consumers who would start questioning that if this is so many times bioavailable,
But I'm not
why am I
experiencing it.
not experiencing anything? And then why am I still asked to take the number of dosages? आपने बायोअवेलेबल कर दिया है, इसका मतलब आपका तो इतने में ही काम होना चाहिए. Why are
Right.
you not looking at this?
Right.
Right. So this is where Nutriventia was built on.
Okay.
This is where Nutriventia came into picture. With over 4+ decades of pharmaceutical legacy in drug delivery systems.
Okay.
So Nutriventia's proprietary Edge delivery platform addresses the issues of bioavailability.
Okay.
Stability is another issue because you know what happens if there are some antioxidants.
Mm-hmm.
Once inside your system, they get oxidized immediately
Oh.
because they have a short life.
Right.
You will read through all of these antioxidants. You will come across these antioxidants as well,
Okay.
right? Ki there are a few antioxidants that after a point of time, once they are in the system for so many minutes,
They
they get
converted into
oxidized.
reduced form.
They get oxidized. So what is happening to them? So the stability is a problem.
Right.
Bioavailability, stability is a problem. Therefore, efficiency is a problem.
Right.
These three are interconnected.
Hmm.
So with our delivery platform technologies that concerns modified release, dispersible technology, dispersible solutions technology, as well as a taste masking technology that we have. Because you find there are a few ingredients out there, very off taste, very bitter taste. So you need something to mask the taste, and you don't need to add, so what people do is people will add sugar
Yeah.
or some alternatives
To trick your brain.
to mask that taste.
Right.
So this is where Nutriventia comes in.
You're addressing it through technologies.
Yes,
Right. By
yes.
making it more stable, whether it is a bitterness, whether it is a stability, or whether it is a absorption problems. And I heard it is led by a women founder.
Yes.
Women director.
So yeah, so Nutriventia was how I don't know how should I put it. Should I address directly as their baby, or I don't know. So basically, Rajat Shah and Vishal Shah are the co-founders of Nutriventia, and it was primarily built so that they understood that this is the problem, and
Okay.
we have the legacy behind us. So why
Right.
not use that legacy for the nutraceutical
Correct.
solutions, right? Because people in nutraceutical industry believe strongly in prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
Once you touch late 30s or early 40s, you understand that the family histories start going to show up.
Right.
धीरे धीरे करके एक एक चीजें निकलेंगी.
And what did you dump in your body will show
Yeah,
up.
will show up.
Right.
So how do you avoid that? You avoid that by start managing certain conditions in your mid-20s,
Right.
right? Melotime, which is a sustained release melatonin, Cafextine, a sustained release caffeine, and Cfens, a sustained release vitamin C.
Okay.
Okay, so when we talk about Edge,
Mm-hmm.
Term Extra, dispersible solutions,
Mm-hmm.
Ashwagandha, Melotime, Cafextend, all built on your
Sustained
release platform.
Okay. So there is a technology for particular ingredient. I mean, you would not say that this technology is applicable for all. I mean, is there some kind of combination based on one ingredient, or to address, I would say, what is the problem? First, you identify about the ingredient.
Yes.
Whether ashwagandha can have different properties, curcumin should have different, I would say. Based on that, you find out what technology would be
applicable. Yes,
for that,
yes.
right?
So when we talk about even when we talk about bioavailability, people used to think about how much is required, or how much is my ingredient given. But it's not only how much, it's about for how long.
Yeah.
If you look at certain pharmacokinetic studies that are available, you understand that people have evaluated the presence for 6 hours, for 12 hours. Very few would talk about a 24 hours. That is where Nutriventia comes in.
Right.
If I'm evaluating something for 6 hours, it basically means that I will have to have multiple dosages, because मैं दिखा रही हूँ कि 6 घंटे के बाद the ingredient is out.
Correct.
Right?
Multiple.
So when I'm talking about bioavailability, for me it is how much is available and for how long it is available. So when I talk about how long it is available, I know that I can make a statement of one a day dosage.
Right.
So all our hero products that we have, all have been built on this very foundation that we want to also talk about consumer compliance.
Right.
Somebody who wants to, somebody who picks up an supplement will not want to take multiple dosages.
Mm-hmm.
Either they would not want to, और कभी कभी क्या होता है कि हाँ ठीक है ले लेंगे, so वो छूट जाता है.
Correct.
Right. So, but when you give them a solution which is a one a day solution, somebody would take it up in the morning and they know that they are good to go for the rest of the day.
Right. I think this is again I'm hearing for the first time, like how long. It's not about how much only, it is like how long we should be taking particular brand. That's I think only a PhD scholar can talk about.
No, that is the foundation on which Nutriventure was
Being built.
that we not only talk about how much, but we also talk about how long, and that how much should be an answer to how much gives the consumer the effect, how much is required
Right.
for the consumer to experience the effect.
So instead of bringing new ingredients into the market, you are just trying to correct or improvise the
Improve
existing one. Let's first correct that. If
Mm.
it doesn't work, if the science is not sufficient, then you want to go for another option. I think that's the right approach to sometimes address issues or like absorption or the stability or efficacy at the ultimately.
Mm.
So I know you. I mean, turmeric or ashwagandha or there are different ingredients. Whole industries right now trying to elevate these and make a part of consumers' life because we have a belief in all of this.
Yeah.
One of the myth, now this is something for our consumers, Dr. Sneha. One of the myth that the herbal extracts like ashwagandha, shilajit, these are all men oriented and they have been always referred to a men's health. Would you like to put some light on it, like how does it connects with women's health also, like ashwagandha? They have proven it for managing the stress, anxiety and all, because it reduces the cortisol level,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So I would say more than men, women are victim of stress all the time.
That is true. So I will not say that this ingredient is only for
Okay.
this gender or only for this one particular aspect. But when I talk about ashwagandha, if you go back to Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, our literature states that it is a very good adaptogen.
Okay.
Now, when you talk about an adaptogen, the first thing that it addresses is the stress.
Right.
Right? Women and men experience stress differently. Now, when you talk about men, I am not here to criticize them as per responsibilities or anything. I don't want to do that. But when you talk about a women are homemakers, they are caregivers, and they also have a career to focus on.
Right.
Right. More recently, I came across an article that says that homemakers have higher cortisol levels as compared to those who are actually going out for work.
Working women. Oh.
Why? Because the atmosphere around a homemaker doesn't change,
Right.
irrespective of what she wants to do. That doesn't change.
Right.
In certain families right now, you see there is only one lady,
Mm-hmm.
and she has to manage a 5-year-old, a 40-year-old, at the same time a 60 or a 70-year-old. While doing this, she also has to look after her career.
Yeah.
So stress is a bigger problem for whom? Women. That stress builds up.
Right.
किस पे उतार?
We're actually very kind. We don't even leave stress.
Yeah.
We want stress also to come
That
to us.
also builds up in us.
Women
yeah.
are very kind.
मतलब कहाँ
We want to
जाएगा?
nurture everyone around us, and that's why we didn't even leave stress. You give us stress. We are here. You don't worry. We had to trek all the anxiety, all the stress.
नहीं, I mean,
Very kind.
see, in case of men, it's not that it, there's a certain spike and then it goes down.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sustained stress in women कि कहीं पे भी जाओ आप वो लेके जा रहे हो. And be it
Very
in whatever
stable.
role you are.
Right.
You are a mother, you are a wife, you are a daughter, daughter-in-law, you are a career-oriented woman. You have to look after everything. So
Right.
that's a sustained stress that a woman experiences.
Right.
And what does that stress do to her body? It affects her sleep.
Yeah.
Now, again, the sleep patterns for men and women are different. There are certain women in the family who barely get to sleep for 4 hours, 5 hours,
Mhm.
because next day, subah utke, you have to prepare the tiffin, you have to look after everything, you have to prepare the breakfast, how manage the household chores. Then
Well, we are
before-
talking about 70% of India now. We're not talking about maybe rest 20% of India. This is the 70% or 80% of India for you guys,
Yeah.
a woman.
Yeah. So there are challenges. It's not that I would not want to talk about.
Right.
the other
So
points,
ashwagandha
yeah.
does help, and it's
It
irrespective
does,
of
it does, because
gender. It's
irrespective of gender, but I think as much as important for men, I would say it is more important for women, because as I said, stress is what is going to affect your sleep. Now, when your sleep gets affected, your mood is affected.
okay. And how this sustained release had differentiated it from traditional ashwagandha? Can you?
So when we talk about Ashwanova is basically a sustained release root only ashwagandha extract. When we look at Ashwanova, the release profile of vithinoloids is for 8 to 12 hours. Okay. So vithinoloids are the active ingredients of an ashwagandha extract, which which basically are responsible for its adaptogenic properties. Right. Now, when I talk about that 8 to 12 hours presence, I am talking about a 24-hour support. Sorry,
Yeah.
8 to 12-hour release that gives me a 24-hour presence that
Okay.
allows me for a 24 hours calm.
Wow.
Right. Therefore, that is where we talk about 1 a day dosage.
And that's how you say how long you're addressing.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, because it's not just how much is available. That is the reason I said not just how much is available, but it is also for how long it is available. So if if it is available in the system for 24 hours, that is definitely going to give you the benefit for a complete day. So you don't have to worry about taking it again. And for most of the women,
Mm-hmm.
while you are doing your morning course, you pop up a pill and you're good to go for the entire
Right.
day, right?
Right. Right.
And
right.
more and more research is right now coming up as far as ashwagandha and fertility or menopausal health is also concerned. Because when women experience chronic stress or sustained stress, that also affects their endocrine health.
True.
Right. So people now also talk about the different benefits ashwagandha give
Mhm.
or for women across the different stages of life, be it fertility, be it puberty, be it menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause.
Correct. I think there's a lot of information we got and a lot of criticism we did about we did about doctorates, men, and so many things. Now, let's try to have some fun. We will be getting into the rapid fire round now. So, Sneha, I'm going to ask you questions, and you don't have to give me explanation. You just have to give me a shortest answer.
Okay.
If you could have a dinner with one scientist, dead or alive, your favorite scientist, who it would be? Anyone.
So I would talk about somebody I used to work with. Obviously, I'm not going to take a big
Mm-hmm.
name, because what I've realized is people who you meet in your daily life teach you a lot.
More than
Right?
scientists.
Yes.
Wow.
So I would want to have a dinner with Mr. late Ashok Bhagwat.
Okay.
He was ex-director of CB Patel Research Center.
Lovely.
He was a part of the university. He was a part of my PhD journey. So I would definitely want to have a dinner with
Okay.
him.
Let's move to next. One health supplement you think is underrated.
Underrated in terms of sales or efficacy?
Yeah, in the market. You can see people are not talking much about it. They should talk about it. Anything.
I don't know. Shatavari, I think people have started talking about it now.
Yeah, now, but late.
Now,
right?
But late, yeah.
If you had to survive on only 3 healthy foods, what would they be? Let's say, for example, you are in the middle of jungle and all, and you would tell, God, send me these 3 foods. I want to survive. What it would-
Berries would be
Berries.
one of them.
Wow.
Berries would be one of them.
Antioxidant.
Yes, antioxidants.
Lovely. Second, one more. Can we have one more?
One more would be pomegranate.
Okay. 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 And what is that one problem you want to solve through any kind of breakthrough in innovations? One problem, one big problem. I would say just choose one problem. There are a lot of problems I know in.
See, as far as product innovation is concerned, as I mentioned, I don't think so. Innovations, there is a gap there. What I believe is people are creating innovations, but people are not addressing
Using
the
it.
right question.
Okay.
Consumers have the question.
Mm-hmm.
They will tell you what the right question
So you're
is.
saying innovations are going in one direction, consumer is asking something else. Okay. The product market fit is missing, right? Yeah. So Sneha is going to ask me a few questions. For a change, I'm bored of asking her a question now.
Okay. So my first question to you is,
I have to choose, I think, from two. Yeah.
yes, protein shake, coffee or a green tea?
चाय का ऑप्शन नहीं है.
चाय का ऑप्शन नहीं है.
Oh my god. Okay, green tea with tulsi.
Okay.
Okay.
Any specific reason for adding tulsi there?
Again, I think it is also part of one of the adaptogen. I love taking stress.
Gut health or brain health?
Oh my god, that's critical. है ना? Gut health or brain health. Both are important here. No, this is both, and both are connected.
Yeah, this is where I actually wanted to tell you both are connected.
Right.
Ashwagandha or omega 3?
Ashwagandha. I just love our indigenous herbs, and even if someone proves me omega 3 much superior, but out of my love, I would say ashwagandha always.
Okay, now this is because you have been on both sides of it.
Uh-huh.
A lab coat or a business suit?
I would say business suit, because you are, because I say when you have a right intention, you should be standing at the forefront after being at the lab for some time, but you should be making up to the front end of the market,
Do you
wearing the lab suit.
miss wearing that lab coat?
Yes, I do. But you have to choose one side sometimes. Yeah.
Nobel Prize or a unicorn startup? Wow.
That's my favorite. Always. Not a unicorn startup also. I would say a startup that will, create a bigger impact and which will be remembered for years and years. That this has changed one small thing which has impacted, millions of lives. Not a unicorn, not in terms of money, but in terms of numbers, how many lives we have impacted. Want to build something like that.
That's a good answer.
Okay, that was fun. How do you want to end it? The last message from your side, a doctor want to give a message, or now business? You're into techno-commercial role now,
Marketing,
if I'm not
scientific
right.
marketing.
Yeah, so
So that is where the point that you made.
Mhm.
You convert science to a language that a layman understands.
yeah,
Right.
I think you're the right person to do that. I would say, right? You'll be the right person to simplify science for people who want to understand.
Who needs to understand? Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
And the thing is, consumers are now aware, so they would want to learn more about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think let's summarize it. Few takeaways that obviously the industrial academic collaboration have to go on and on and on, and we have to bring out all this breakthroughs publication into the market. We have to kind of scan all of them and see what fits in what is solving the real problem right now. I think that kind of mergers are needed, much needed. And yes, in spite of spending time on bringing obviously there is some set of people who are every day working on new innovation, but how do you address the current problem is not sometimes by bringing completely new innovation. No, by correcting the current innovation also. Right?
Yeah.
So with these things, we want to close it. Any closing sentence from you, Sneha? Dr. Sneha, sorry.
That's okay. So I would just like to request
Mhm.
people. There are multiple organizations right now across. Even if one organization decides to enter into a collab with the nearest college or the university, that is going to change the future of India. That
Lovely.
will. Even one organization decides that this is the nearest college, I am going to have a collaboration with them, offer one seat to at least somebody who is good enough as far as concepts are concerned. That would make the change.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
input. We will surely, I think, take it ahead to the audience and institutes also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.